Oh my gosh, we had a really great meeting last night with the Universal Access Advisory Board.
Yeah, I saw the emails about that. Yeah, it was good, huh?
And I'm sure Mary's gonna, and Mike both will appreciate having the opportunity to share some of the thoughts. And then we're putting a full report together. We just don't have it for tonight yet.
Nice. Well, that's good. I'm sure they'll be very helpful.
And I know Amy will not be joining us, so it's Amanda and Mike and Mary and you.
Okay. Doesn't look like there's too much important stuff on there.
No, it should be pretty quick. We have a couple, 3 action items and a couple discussion items.
It's gonna storm. My dog's standing next to me.
I know.
It's gonna storm. You can always tell when it's gonna rain or storm or something. The dog follows you around.
Yeah.
Other than that, he has nothing to do with him. How's everything else going?
Real good. Real busy.
Yeah.
But we have our deer management meeting tonight with the hunters out at Demmer Center. Getting ready to get that started. And then farmers market's going great. We have our Wednesday night stuff. I'll be reporting on all this.
Good.
But
Yeah,
the concerts are really, turning out great. And then I don't know how much time you've had to look at the survey results. Very interesting. So I think we might even schedule a work session just for all of us to.
Just for that. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, there's interesting things on that.
Well, where is everybody?
Yeah, not coming in yet. I didn't know it really was 4:30 today, so.
Oh, here's Mary. She probably can't get in. Hi, Mary.
Yeah, Amanda just sent it.
Join as a panelist, yeah. Stephen, I've got Mary Ferris on the line. Oh, there's Amanda.
There's Amanda.
She needs to get clicked in.
The world, Amanda.
Remember, you can just float over them and promote to panelist, and they'll come in as a panel.
Here she is.
Hi. I was on. Could you hear me?
No.
I was talking to you guys trying to. So, okay, good. And then of course my personal phone died as soon as the meeting started. So then I came out because I couldn't find your phone number. But I sent an email and here you are. Here's Mark. Here's Mary. Nothing like a little panic, Luann, as the meeting's starting. I'm
That's
sure
okay.
that was.
We're fine. We are fine. I haven't seen
a different entrance this time for whatever reason.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It entered us as we were joining a webinar
Yeah.
versus, yeah. So I don't
It's
know.
always a webinar, but if you use your panelist link that was emailed to you before a long time ago, we should probably resend them. You'll come in
A long time ago.
Yeah, we got a different link this time, so it put us in differently.
Thanks for closing that loop, though, everybody. I'm going to mute again.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to mute too. Mike McDonald is walking up right now. I'm going to set him up on a computer here, so we'll be delayed for just a couple more minutes.
All right, I will not call the meeting to order until Mike gets set up. I hope everybody's having a lovely week.
We need to get Mike a computer or something that he can work on.
I know.
Or something, catch him up to speed on technology or something. I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's great.
I was a little bummed today. My son's soccer game was canceled, or well, it was moved to tomorrow because of the weather.
Yeah, it's going to be
I
bad.
was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it going to be bad, Mark?
Yeah, it's starting to rain now, and there's some big storms coming through. So we're going to get kids in the river on Thursday, and there's going to be enough water where the river's going to be too high of a speed. So we decided not to. College kids, not kids, college kids. So
hate to lose many.
Yeah, we don't want to. Well, college kids wouldn't be too bad, but the ones that are not far gone yet. I'm kidding.
You know, I helped for move into the dorms this year and that was on campus this week. It was just so nice to be out there with all the kids though, you know, and think what's ahead of them at that time in their life.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is.
Good and bad, hard and easy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I
it's,
remember when I was on campus my freshman year, LCC, when I took classes at LCC and at MSU, I was interviewed by at LCC, it was a school paper, and MSU, it was LSJ. And I still have the articles and the one with MSU. I was like, I am so excited to be. I mean, I was just like over the moon, over the top. Super happy to be on campus. So I'm sure that's a lot of the sentiment. I mean, hopefully this year, given all the challenges, but I also can understand if it was a little bit different too with everything going on. Lots of things have changed for them.
yeah, I see them walking around my building with their phones trying to figure out where they are.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's not new for you, is it? Mark?
No.
What was
Well, it's new
special
for
me?
now. I mean, we didn't have that last year. It was,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
it
true.
was pretty dead in the buildings, but now it's pretty funny to watch them.
Right.
Okay, so we don't really have any air conditioning here. And so I have a fan on. Can you guys hear that? Is it a problem in the background?
I
Not at all.
cannot hear that.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, great. I see that Commissioner McDonald has joined the meeting. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at this time at 4:36.
And
All
just so
right.
everyone knows that this meeting is being televised live on home TV.
Great. Wonderful. Welcome everyone out there watching today. So thank you so much for tuning in to our meeting. I want to open it up now to our agenda item number 2, which is public comment. And do we have anybody on the phones or anyone in the view or chat?
Of course, people watching from home TV could dial into 517-349-1232. There are no attendees in the area where we would offer them the opportunity to raise their hand. We're hearing no telephones ring at this time.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is approval of the agenda. Would anyone like to motion?
I have a change, an amendment to the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add under 7 discussion, we'll have B is the easement request from Consumers Energy for Watch Park. And that would be discussion letter B. And then I don't know if we wanted to put the Universal Access Advisory Board comments there or save that under commissioner comments later. That's probably a better idea. So really that's the only addition we have is the easement request for discussion for Consumers Energy.
Thank you, Luann, for that addition. With that addition, would anybody like to motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mary. Who'd like to second? Okay, Commissioner Stevens, I saw your hand first. Thank you. All right, and then we'll go to our next agenda item number 4, approval of minutes from our last meeting, which was August 10th, 2021. Would anyone like to motion to approve the minutes? Mike, Commissioner McDonald would like to motion to approve, and Commissioner Stevens will second. Thank you. All right, next up is communications.
Hey, I think I only added one communication into the packet, and it is I put together a list of budgeted projects that took place from 2013 to 2021 at the request of Manager Walsh. And I just thought that it was a definite point of interest that I think the Park Commission, I'm sure you all know about it, but when you see it all together, it's a lot of stuff that has happened in our parks. If you don't mind, I wouldn't mind running down the list real quick. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. That sounds good.
So-
are you going to read all of them off or just?
I will, but
picking
I'll be
some?
fast. I'll do it
Okay.
quick.
Sounds
So
good.
in 2014, we added the paved trail in Watch Park. And then we also added sand volleyball courts we had at Nancy Moore and at North Meridian Road Park. And we brought in Lake Michigan beach sand for those sand volleyball courts, and there's 4 of them. We put a brand new pavilion in Watch Park in 2016. We also added the fitness equipment at Watch Park. and we resurfaced the parking lot. And then also in 16, we renovated the tennis courts at Hillbrook, where we also made pickleball courts and resurfaced the parking lot. And then improved the half court basketball court, put new play equipment in at Hillbrook. Orlando Park in 2016 was, we constructed, oh yeah, the whole new Orlando Park was a full new development there. Playground equipment, loop trail, and then constructed 4 new dugouts at Hartrick Park in 16, added a building generator in 2017. And that happened to be after the year of the ice storm. And so now we don't have to worry about the animals being too cold in there if for some reason, or too hot, I guess, if we lose power again. Towner Road Park was developed in 17 and 18, a new pavilion at North Meridian Road Park in 18, new trailheads and directional signage from 18 through 21, added the new small dog park in 2018. The Ty Hart Land Preserve was added in 1890 acres, as well as the Mandenberg Woods of 4 acres, Ponderosa Land Preserve in 18 of 92 acres, and also added the Namoki Preserve of 12 acres in 18. 2019 was the large dog park, the courtyard project at the senior center. Marketplace on the Green was from 18 until 2020. Overflow parking lot last year was added at Towner Road Park. We paved the entry drive at Leg Park last year. The Central Meridian Regional Trail Connector, which is the paved trail through Central Park, fishing dock in Central Park South. That's just completing now, so that's 2020 and 2021. And our Gateway Walkway and Restroom in the Historical Village was last year and this year. A new pavilion in Harris Nature Center, a new pavilion at, or restroom at Harris Nature Center. All those have been done. That's a lot of stuff since 2013 in the Meridian Township Parks.
Luann, thank you so much for reading that list. I think it's incredibly important for those watching and that will watch this episode again to see and hear all the things that have been done in the parks over the last several years. So thank you for taking the time and highlighting and showcasing that. And thank you to your work, to the board's work, to your team's work, to everybody's work that is done to that has worked on these projects and helping those come to fruition, as well as to maintain them and keep them up for all of us to enjoy, especially during this time when more folks are enjoying the parks. I can't even imagine with the pandemic, had this not all been put into place and done, you know, what it would be like for us. So I'm very, very grateful that we've had the chance to do this. Any other commissioners like to comment on the list that Luann shared?
You know, I would just like to add too that it's not only the park millage money that funded these projects. Oh, there's like grants attached to nearly every single project that I listed off. So as we work so hard to leverage our local money, we appreciate our residents and the park millage support that we get, but we make that, we stretch it and make it go as far as we can. And there were some contributions from the general fund, but most of it were grants and then local matches with our park millage.
Thank you
That's
for
what I was
pointing
going
that.
to say. What an impressive list, and how nice to have an outline like that, Luann, so that anybody can pull that up at any time to see where the money went and how that money was leveraged. And I just want to applaud you and your staff's leadership and momentum on this, because this isn't being involved in this, you know, for 40 plus years. This is not an easy task. And if you don't do the planning before everybody can see that, you don't end up with the projects that we've been able to have groundbreakings for, or have openings for the past couple of years. So thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome, but it's all your work as well. So it took a village to make it all happen. So appreciate
Or a township.
your effort.
Yeah, it took a township to make it all happen. I think that's great.
right.
Yeah, good point, Commissioner Ferris. And yeah, I think if anybody's done any work in terms of with grants, it takes a lot to manage even one grant, let alone this many over this amount of time. So it's incredible work. Commissioner McDonald.
I just thought I'd add, because we will talk about the Universal Accessibility Board later, that to highlight, Lou, the details of, let's just say, that playground at Hillbrook that has been described as so important to so many people. As you said earlier, but I don't know the answer to this question. It says 80,000. I think yesterday, Mary and I heard that it actually cost quite a bit more, or did it come in at 80,000? That's all.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
believe that that was a grant where it was half of park millage and half of a grant. I have to take a look at it real quick.
Okay.
But no, that was the cost, was the $80,000.
Well, it's a beauty, and Mary and I will talk about the board meeting yesterday later.
Sounds great. Thank you, Commissioner McDonald. Okay, moving on to our next item is action items. And Luann, the first one on that list is the resolution of declaration and notice for the Gateway Path and Restroom Grant. Would you like to say anything about this resolution?
You know, as we just spoke earlier about how we utilize grant funding to finish projects. So as we try to close these projects out, and I know I've got two members here that were former DNR Grants Division folks. There is this resolution that they request of communities who are receiving money. And it's just like a reaffirmation that the park properties that were improved through grant funds will remain as recreation properties in perpetuity and free and open to the public. And that's what the resolutions are for each of the next two items. And the first one is for the accessible gateway pathway into the historical village and the restroom building. And that was a land and water conservation fund program through the National Park Service. And so there is a resolution attached. I don't think you need to actually read the entire resolution, but maybe the now therefore be it resolved would be appropriate. And then the next item is the same type of declaration, resolution of declaration and notice for the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund Central Meridian Regional Trail Connector. And that's the same resolution, different project, but it really is just reconfirming that a community will maintain these properties and keep them open to the public for park purposes in perpetuity.
Great. Thank you so much, Luann. I appreciate that. And so we do need to adopt this resolution with a voice vote, correct? Okay. And one second, Commissioner McDonald, just and so Luann, and then before we do that, do you need me to read it or can any commissioner read it?
I believe any commissioner can read that. And
Okay.
really, I don't think we need to read the entire legal description and all of that, but just maybe the now therefore be it resolved portion.
And everything after now, therefore, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Commissioner McDonald? Oh, we can't hear you, Mike. I think you might be on mute.
There.
Okay, there we go.
How it came up somewhere. Anyway, so for someone that was doing this for not 40 years, but anyway, a while, I wanted to ask you, Lou, did our attorney vet this transmittal memo? Did he or she vet the language in the actual document itself? Because it seemed to me that I've got a couple of questions, so I wanted to see if our attorney looked at it.
Yeah. Our attorney looked at the original contract in the beginning when we accepted the grant. And this seems to be the same language as was already pre-approved. This particular document I did not send to the attorney, and I certainly can do that if you desire.
Well,
but it reinforces earlier we signed something, but I think now that the project's over, they just want that extra, just so you remember.
Right. I think I asked that to segue into, well, the major philosophical point is, why doesn't it say in perpetuity, period? But we used to say it a lot simpler, but that was included.
Yeah, this language came directly from the DNR.
Yeah, crap. Anyway, must be from Sharon Edgar. As you remarked, Lou, who's now ducked out of the room, that's exactly what it means. It doesn't mean if what maybe blah, blah, it means in perpetuity. So
Commissioner McDonald.
That's it. We're all set.
Okay. would you feel more comfortable if the attorney took a look at it, at both these resolutions and then, and adjusted the language appropriately?
Even though this may have come with a contract, if the DNR permits it, seriously, it sounds really, well, not petty. I'd rather not send it to the attorney. That'd be money and time. I
Okay.
think Lou would know where you would put the 2 words in perpetuity.
Are you asking for those 2 words to be put in this?
I would. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner McDonald. Luann? And I just want to remind folks that we are being televised tonight. And it's,
Luann, I think she'll pick it up here in a sec. She might be printing something.
Luann, can you hear me? You're on mute.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we don't take action on this evening, and what we
Mhm.
could do is take action, and if you'd like this to go to,
You're on mute.
no, I'm not.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep closing my door, and because Mike is out there and we're hearing
Yeah.
vibration back and forth. If Commissioner McDonald and it's the pleasure of the Park Commission for this to go to the attorney, we certainly can do that. And then we can take a look at it again next month.
Luann, just so you know that when you stepped away, Commissioner McDonald clarified his request, which is that the 2 words "in perpetuity" be added to the motion or the resolutions, the 2 resolutions. So if that's possible on both of these, I don't think it needs to go to the attorney.
Okay.
And then we can just take action on this during the next meeting.
Sounds
Is that okay? Okay,
Thank you.
great. All right, thank you. Okay, so that takes care of action items A and B. We'll add those to the agenda of the next meeting. And we're going to move on to, oh,
Wait, I think we can vote on these today.
oh, you want, okay,
Yes, they're on,
Okay.
they're on for action, and let's take one at a time.
sorry. Okay, all those in favor? Oh, we need a, sorry, Commissioner
okay.
Ferris.
Do we need to read the motion, any part of it, or can we just vote?
I think since we are televised and there's people out and can't read this right now, I think it would be good to just read the now therefore be it resolved portion of.
Just checking. Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
that clarification.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm
Commissioner
sorry.
Ferris, he wasn't sure because of the, with changing the language, if we should read it or not. So thank you for seeking that clarification.
Actually, can I make one clarification? You should read all of the resolutions, and you are required by the virtual meetings addendum to the Open Meetings Act to have roll call votes as opposed to voice votes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Would anyone like to read the resolution of declaration and notice for the Gateway Path and Restroom Grant in its entirety?
Don't think we need to read. We could just say with the attached legal description, because to read that entire legal description would.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought when he just stated that we had to read the entire.
The resolution, I'm not sure whether you're supposed to read the legal description or not, but that does not sound practical in any way,
Right.
shape, or form.
Okay,
So I would say
Or
the
meaning.
legal description as outlined per whoever did the survey or something to that.
okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, who would like to read the first action item, the community or the resolution of declaration and notice from the section now therefore?
Mike, would you like to do that? If not, I can.
Mike, you're muted.
Chairman Lick, would you like me to proceed with?
Yes,
one?
please,
Okay.
Commissioner Ferris.
Now therefore be it, excuse me, let me make sure I'm off mute. Now therefore be it resolved by the Park Commission of the Charter Township of Meridian, Ingham County, Meridian, Michigan, hereby declares that the portion of the property identified as the project area and herein defined in this legal description and shall be held, transferred, sold, conveyed, leased, occupied, and used subject to the obligation hereinafter set forth, all of which shall run with the land in perpetuity. The lands included in this deed developed by Meridian Township with funding assistance from the Land and Water Conservation Fund pursuant to the project agreement LW 16-0046 in parens 26-01768 parens accessible gateway bridge and restroom development between the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and Meridian Township, executed on February 28, 2018. The project agreement describes certain requirements to ensure the long-term conservation of the property and its use for public outdoor recreation. Meridian Township is placing this notice on record as confirmation of its obligations as set forth in the project agreement, including the requirement that the consent of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund Board of Trustees is required prior to the conveyance of any rights or interest in the property to another entity or for the use of the property for purposes other than conservation or public outdoor recreation.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferris. And now we'll move to a roll call vote. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ferris?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
I don't think I can, he gives me the thumbs up, but let me go check his monitor.
This will be a very entertaining visual, audio visual presentation.
Yes, I completely agree, Commissioner Ferris.
Well, I'll watch it over and over again with a glass of wine.
Exactly.
Right, Mark?
Okay, Commissioner McDonald.
Yes. Yes.
We have 3 yays and 0 nays. The resolution passes and is adopted. Thank you so much for that. We're now going to move. Oh, yes.
So, Chair Lick, you know, we do need to go back to the start. Since we are on Zoom, we need to do a roll call of who's in attendance today. And you have to state if you're like in Okemos or in Hazlet, attending over Zoom from where you're at. I forgot that now that we're in Zoom and not in person.
That's okay. You know what? This past 18 months have presented lots of new changes. And, you know, we've been meeting outdoors and masked. And so this is the first time that we've done Zoom in quite a while. So no problem at all. I forgot as well. So thank you, Luann. So Commissioner Amanda Lick, I am in Okemos and attending by Zoom. Commissioner Stevens.
Mark Stevens, Commissioner. I am here in Hazlet attending by Zoom.
Commissioner Ferris.
I am Mary Nardo Ferris, Park Commissioner, attending by Zoom and in Hazlet.
Commissioner McDonald.
I'm Mike McDonald. I'm in Okemos, attending by Zoom.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Actually, Mike, our building is in Hazlet, so he's attending from Hazlet.
Okay. Perfect. So do we need to go back and redo the resolution vote or no?
No, we're good.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to action item B, the resolution of declaration notice for the Central Meridian Trail Connector. Who would like to read that resolution? Starting with now therefore. Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah, I can do that. Now therefore be it resolved by the Park Commission of the Charter Township of Meridian, Ingham County, Michigan hereby declares that the portion of the property identified as the project area is and shall be held, transferred, sold, conveyed, leased, occupied, and used subject to the obligation hereinafter set forth, all of which shall run with the land in perpetuity. The lands included in this deed developed by Meridian Township with the funding assistance from the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund pursuant to the project agreement TF 116 -0087 Central Park Regional Pathway and Fishing Dock Development between the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and Meridian Township, executed on November 24th, 2017. The project agreement describes certain requirements to ensure the long-term conservation of the property and its use for public outdoor recreation. Meridian Township is placing this notice on record and as confirmation of its obligations as set forth in the project agreement, including the requirement that the consent of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund Board of Trustees is required prior to the conveyance of any rights or interests in the property to another entity for the use of the property for purposes other than conservation or public outdoor recreation.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Just two minor things as you were reading. The project agreement is T as in Tom, F as in Frank -16-0087. And then it was executed on November 22nd, not the 24th, as detailed in the resolution. So I just wanted to make those two minor changes. Thank you so much. Now we'll move on to the roll call vote. Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferris.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
We have 3 yeas and 0 nays. The resolution is adopted and placed on file.
Who supported Commissioner Stevens?
Oh.
Is there support?
Sorry.
I can
Motion.
support.
Okay,
Thank you.
Wouldn't the vote be 4-0? Amanda still votes.
yes, before 4-0.
It's fine.
Yep. No Amy today. Okay. All right. Next up is deer management. This is our 10th or 11th year. I think it's our 11th year, the deer management program. And currently on 42 properties, we've had a request to add, now that we do own the Sander Farm Preserve Natural Area, we've had a request to add that to the list for the deer management program. And then also in your information was a summary of last year's harvest, where the volunteers harvested 176 deer from 33 properties of that the township owned and 7 private properties. Almost 2,300 pounds of venison was donated to local food banks through the volunteer program. And an estimated 3,500 volunteer hours from our hunters who participated in this program. And then also there's a secondary hunt that our police call that our police department engages in, and that's from January 1, and we're hoping to be done by first week of March for this coming year. But as you look at, go through your pages, I have a map here of the outline of the property for the Sander Farm Preserve Natural Area on Dobie Road. But then kind of an important piece is the whole deer management map. And as we look at areas around there and neighborhoods around there, there's no hunting property that's near the Sander Farm Preserve. This property would help out Briarwood subdivision, Tacoma Hills subdivision, Forest Hills subdivision. All 3 of those sites for sure, by adding this property to the program. So that is the request. There is a heat map also involved, and these were the car deer collisions in 2020. That was also included in your packet. And it is a hot area down through that section. And so this actually does work into an area right in here below this area here. And then also it's darker. Can you see all that in here? Hard when we're not, I guess I could have shared my screen. But anyway, so that is the request, is to add that property into the management program for 2021.
Luann, can I ask a question? that, who made the request for the property to be added?
We had a couple people from the community contact us. I don't have their names, but they live in Tacoma Hills and
Okay.
knew now that we do own the Sander Farm Preserve Natural Area, which is 31, almost 32 acres of property in the central portion of Okemos that there's a possibility of adding that into the program. So I said I would bring this to the Park Commission for consideration.
Thank you for bringing it to us. I really appreciate it. I'm wondering if Commissioner Stevens and McDonald could shed some light. I do not recall having approved an additional property being added in my tenure on the Park Commission. So I'm not sure what the typical process is. If there's community input, I know that sometimes there's some questions around this. So could you please shed some light on that, Commissioner Stevens, if you don't mind?
Yeah, in my tenure, we basically have had recommendations from Luann come to the community and we've just approved them,
Okay.
basically. Yeah. You know, my question on this one is, was there any language in the Sander Farm agreement that we couldn't do that with their farm? And that's the only question I would have on this. I don't see any problems with having it, having it added to our program.
No, there were no restrictions with regards to this activity on the property.
Okay, I didn't know if there were family
Good question.
considerations or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, Commissioner McDonald.
I agree with Mark. The only property I remember added during my tenure was, I can't think of the name, Luann, so I'll just call it the Tom's Shopping Center parking lot property. And that was added, was that prior to your tenure, Commissioner Lick, Chair?
I believe so.
Would have been
That was one of
Forest
the
Hills
more,
Natural Area.
what's the right word, forceful meetings I've ever been to. And all of the people that spoke were forcefully, strongly in favor of the addition of that property. To clarify a couple things for me, have we chosen how many hunters? First of all, will there be 2 hunters there, or 4 or 3?
I haven't seen the
And where will
assignments.
they, where will we tell them to park?
Well, that's a good question, because we do provide, when we do assign volunteers for the call to a site, they're actually given an area and almost identified a tree that they have to go to. So we know where they're at, and we identify a place where they park. And then they also put a placard in their front dash. So anyone who walks up and sees that car, they'll see the big, I don't know if it's orange this year or hot pink, but in their dash, they have to sign in every time they're there. They sign out every time they're there.
And my question is, have we, or Emma, has that been tentatively decided yet?
There is a meeting tonight, but we are not assigning people there until after tonight and your action. But normally we would assign 2 people.
Right,
Probably
okay,
2 people
2.
to that site. And, please keep in mind that they're not out there every single day. So someone might
That's
hunt
right. That's not any
Thursday, and somebody else might do, because they work during the week, a Saturday and a Sunday. And it's normally in the morning hours or later in the evening. They're off the beaten path because they don't want to be where people are. There are some treat areas in that site, and that is where they would be placed.
When we move and approve the resolution, I have no idea what the vote will be, but I think once it's resolutions made, to be careful for our purposes, I would ask that it just have some note in there that that's contingent on the selection of 2 hunters and adequate parking for them.
Yeah, that's a protocol that we have on all of our properties.
I understand.
And then also each of the sites have signage attached. So anybody that comes up, we also send letters directly to every property adjacent to all the properties that are included in the program. So there's a lot of public notice beforehand with a letter, on site during the entire program with signage on posts and trees and such. And then the hunters are responsible. They have to be accountable for when they're there and when they're not there. And we GPS their location, so we know where they're hunting from. No one's walking around with their bow and arrow looking. They're in a tree, they're shooting straight down, normally early morning and early evening times that they're there. And like I said, this is our 10th or 11th year of this program. And actually there was a community survey that the township board recently conducted, and the results I believe I sent you earlier, but 80% of the residents were in strong favor of continuing the program, and multiple comments were included in that. So there is strong public support to continue with this program. We do have, since Okemos is a little more urban areas, it is important when we can find large tracts of land to try to include that in the program. And the Sander Farm Preserve Natural Area does really hit the mark for us on that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Luann. Thank you, Commissioner McDonald, for your great questions. Any other? Okay, Commissioner Ferris. Oh, you're on mute.
Yep. I had a couple of quick questions. I was wondering, there was a number cited of 300 for this year, which is about twice what it has been previously. I was just wondering where the number came from.
Okay, so our 300 was the goal that was set to us by administration last year that they'd like to see. And our volunteer program had basically been getting 80 to 100. So to get to 300, we were like, really? Our volunteers were great last year. And the township board dedicated additional funding for this program. So we were able to do some things to help ease the burden for the hunters with having a cooler. We're transporting the deer to the processor. We're actually then transporting it to the food banks. We're doing a lot of the work that maybe the hunters were doing in previous years. And then also the police department stepped up and they took another 150. So we had 176 from the volunteer program on 150 with the police to get us to the 379 numbers. So we were at like 370 or 326. What were we at last year? I knew this all a while ago.
Thanks for that clarification.
So we ended up getting to
didn't know if they were
326, and we exceeded the goal of 300. And I'm guessing we're going to be at that same number again this year.
Thank you for that clarification,
Yes.
Ann. I have another question from a wildlife management standpoint. Do we know what the population is within the township?
We do not. We have not done like a flyover to get an exact count. But, our goal is not to, because we've had, people send us pictures and it's like, there's still deer. There's a lot of deer in my yard. We still need to do more. And it's like, I just really want everyone to remember, we're not trying to eradicate the deer population in our community. That is not the goal. The goal is to help manage the numbers. And so these things that we're doing now are just helping to kind of keep things healthy. As you all know, we went through the CWD, chronic wasting disease, a few years back. And if we hadn't been already moving forward with this program, it could have ended up a whole lot worse. And so really this is part of wildlife management. Do we have exact numbers? No, but we know there's a lot of deer here, just from the car deer accidents and the resident comments and concerns that they address to us on a regular basis. And even in our land preserves, we set up an exclosure. And so we could see what the deer browsing was doing in our parks and land preserves versus what was inside and how it was growing and what was going on around it. And so we do have some data. We also have a student at Michigan State University, a PhD student, who have been tracking the deer to kind of learn their behaviors a little more. And that's been an ongoing study for a few years now. It's very interesting. Most deer kind of end up staying within a mile of where they're at. And when their offspring come, they stay. So it's like, they're not traveling far. They're staying pretty close to wherever we're seeing them.
I guess as we move forward, I'm just looking at, we do it in a scientific manner so that as we manage the wildlife within this urban population, that we have some good information as to why we're doing it, where the numbers are coming from. Because when I look at the numbers of deer harvested and reported deer collisions, I'm not seeing a correlation there between how many we harvest and any kind of reduction in the collisions. So it may be the way the data is presented. It may be that I'm missing something, if there's something missing on the timing of when that was done, but I guess I would like to see that as we look at this, because I do understand when people believe that they have nuisance animals in their yards or bugs or whatever, that is a passionate and primary concern. I just think as a commission, it'd be a good idea that we move forward in management in a scientific way and
Mhm.
not just based on general complaints.
Right, and I also do want to add that we work hand in hand with the Department of Natural Resources. And we actually have the expert for deer and moose that live here in the community and was part of our program. And we follow all the DNR rules and regulations for our hunting program, all of our permits. They are, we have to submit an entire plan to them for approval. So this isn't something that is done haphazardly or without guidance from the DNR. So anyway, it's been a great program so far. We've been able to provide outdoor recreation in our community. It's been highly managed and keeping everyone accountable. We've been able to feed the hungry through the program, so that's been positive, and have new partners. We've had Sportsmen Against Hunger, who have been very important partners in this program. So there's a lot of good things going on, but I do understand where you're coming from as well. And so it might be time to contract with some type of a flyover to get a count.
It's great. And then in addition to that, moving forward, maybe through the park system, we can look at linkages or ways better to accommodate the passages of the deer somehow. I know we do a good job in our developments from what I can see, but there may be another way that we can look at it township wide to see or try and reduce some of those collisions also.
I think
Great.
that's, yeah, great comments and questions, Commissioner Ferris and Luann, thank you so much for providing all the details as you continue to do for this group, as well as the people viewing tonight and that will continue to view. I think that it's important to take a look at the program. Like you said, it's been going on for 11 years. There's some good stuff that's come out of it, and there's always opportunities to improve, like Commissioner Ferris had mentioned. And you would think that when you see the number of deer being culled, that hopefully the amount of auto accidents would go down or collisions would go down. So that is an interesting situation that we're not seeing that correlation. But I'm wondering if the student who has been doing some research on this might have interest in doing further research, or if we could be looking at a different group to do that as well. It'd be interesting. And in addition to that, if the deer management group is meeting tonight, it might be something to also consider having like some conversations with Commissioner Ferris or some other ideas on how to, work together to improve the passages for deer throughout the township. So more to come and more to do on that, but a great conversation around this program. So thank you so much. Yes,
I
Luann.
just would like to add some, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You're calling on me or Mark?
I was just gonna say something funny. That's all. I wonder if we need to start a people management program, because that might be a reason why there's an increase in car collision that,
Yeah.
as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe.
we increase the population of people, there's more cars on the road, and,
Right.
there's more deer.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we hope to get a better impact on the car deer collision. And if you look at, starting in 2011, 43 deer were harvested. That's a kind of a drop, but that's nothing. That is nothing to what we have here. And then we went to 90 and 127 and 150. And then starting and that must have been right when CWD hit and there was no longer baiting allowed. And then in 15, we only harvested 63. And then 73, and then 80, and then 57, and 88. So we really haven't been harvesting probably enough deer to have a large enough impact on the car deer accidents. It would be very interesting to me now that we've harvested 326 last year. And if we do something again like that this year, I think we will start to see, the needle move a little bit more than what we have in the past.
I guess that's, and this is not for this year, and I really appreciate the additional information, Luann. I've been familiar with the program for a number of years. I just be curious as to what the end goal is and how the objectives are set out, other than just straight numbers, because there may be, you know, we have dealt with this in the Parks and Recreation of the DNR for years also, but I would like to see that maybe moving into the future so that we have a better, more scientific approach to where we're getting our numbers from. And is that, like you said, maybe there need to be more, I don't know. But right now it feels like, to me, it's kind of a number that's pulled out of a pocket. And I just, from a science standpoint, it's just not feeling as sound to me as maybe other things we might do into the future.
Right. And I guess I also just wanted, and I'm sure you all know this, but this was not a program that we initiated, that the Parks and Recreation Department or the Park Commission initiated. This was a township board directive to move forward with this. So we are implementing as best we can. And I do hear what you're saying. And so I'm hoping we can kind of meld the two together to kind of come to some great resolution. But you know, it does provide another opportunity for us to work with Michigan State University. And we're so fortunate to have that resource so close.
Yeah, exactly. And Luann, I know if anybody can make the melding of the opportunities happen, it's you. So thank you so much. Commissioner McDonald.
Thank you, Chair Lick. I'm always amazed that, amazed isn't the right word, that Commissioner Ferris has looked at a document, come up with the exact same questions and thoughts that I thought somebody might. Number one, and these are all said in a, you know, a business-like vein, but it's lighthearted. And first of all, I don't think this is really a part of the CWD control, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. And then the second, the DNR, Department of Conservation, used to estimate deer numbers by counting deer pellets, which was the name of the title of the deer pellet survey. And I learned colloquially that, first of all, they were done by inmates, and that as they walked through the plots, they also counted porcupine poop. End result being they don't do the deer pellet survey. I think that the science, Mary, is more of the art of the experience of both the residents who are aggrieved that we have too many deer and they're eating their shrubs, and the pleasure, if that's the right word, the accomplishment that the hunters achieved by participating. And then I shouldn't forget the food bank issue. I think probably you aren't going to the deer meetings that is probably going on right now soon. I would just say to Mary that if Chad Stewart is still the guy, right? If Chad lives here and we think of doing a flyover, or we think of paying for a study or something like that of a car deer say, I would just have Chad kind of vet what we might think of doing to save time and money.
I'm not looking for necessarily.
By the way, I am fully 110% behind what we do. I haven't fly-spec'd what Ann Arbor has done. I think, Mark, that they did go through and pass out like birth control pills or
I don't know.
sterilized deer or something.
Yeah, I don't know if they did that or not, but it was going to be a study, I think.
This has a lot more to me, and A leads to B leads to C, with maybe C or D being that however many families participate in getting, in getting the venison.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner McDonald. And Commissioner Ferris, any last thoughts?
No, I'm good right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so moving on to this action item, which is the offering the commissioner of this resolution. Would a commissioner like to offer this resolution, and would someone like to support it?
I'll move to offer the resolution.
Okay. Mike, would you like to support this resolution? Thank you. So Commissioner Stevens moves to offer it and Commissioner McDonald supports. Commissioner Stevens, would you please read the resolution?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. Where is that?
Me too, Mark. I think I misplaced the page 4 of 5. Does it start with just page 5 of 5, Luann?
You want me to read the whole thing or the now therefore be a resolve?
I think the guy, God or whoever said we have to read the whole thing.
All right. Whereas the Charter Township of Meridian has documented numerous complaints relative to the issue of overpopulation of white-tailed deer, including overgrazing of landscape plants, a high number of deer car collisions, threats to public health, and threats to ecological health of natural areas, whereas a deer management plan has been developed for the purpose of outlining measures conducting a highly managed, safe, and humane managed deer harvest on township-owned properties. And whereas it is recognized that controlled hunting may help control the overpopulation of white-tailed deer, and whereas the Charter Township of Meridian has authorized staff to conduct a managed deer harvest on township-owned properties that will occur 7 days per week during the regular archery season, October 1st, 2021 through January 1st, 2022. And whereas the managed deer harvest will utilize qualified, competent, and experienced volunteer hunters, and whereas the township-owned properties are not open to unauthorized hunting, and whereas the Charter Township of Meridian will work with the Department of Natural Resources to operate under the Deer Management Assistance Program for the purpose of purchasing a large number of antlerless deer permits, and whereas Charter Township of Meridian's Deer Management Program will comply with all state and of Michigan rules and hunting regulations, and whereas the public will be properly notified of deer harvest through posted signs on the designated hunting properties, township website postings, press releases in the local newspaper, and letters to owners of properties adjacent to the designated hunting properties. And whereas the majority of venison from the harvested deer will be distributed to the hungry through local food banks, and whereas parks and natural areas provide ecological, aesthetic beauty, and improve water quality, protection of groundwater, preventing flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas the Charter Township of Meridian recognizes that the benefits derived from parks and natural areas and appreciates benefits of local wildlife. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Park Commission of the Charter Township of Meridian that the Sander Farm Preserved Natural Area be added to the list of approved township-owned land for the management of deer harvest program.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. We'll now move to approve or adopt the resolution. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferris.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Okay, and I am also a yes, so that is 4 yeas, 0 nays. The resolution is adopted. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is discussion items. Letter A is Community Input Opportunities Master Plan Update. Luann, would you like to provide an update on this?
Yes. As you know, we're in the process of updating our 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. When I say we, I mean us included, everyone here. And so we were looking at our public input opportunities. And recently the Township Board conducted a community survey through a company. And I did forward the survey results to everyone. I think there is a lot of data there that will be very helpful to us. There are a number of park questions and comments. And I would like to maybe schedule a work session for all of us to sit down, and because there was a lot of information that I had forwarded. And I find it all very interesting, and it's very telling in my opinion, but I'd like everyone to take a look at it. And like I said, we just got it like yesterday and I forwarded it on to you. So if in the future we can maybe, once everyone had a chance to digest it, the Township Board, this hasn't even been formally presented yet to the Township Board. It will be next Tuesday. So if you want to tune into home TV, I'm not sure if they're doing an in-person meeting on Tuesday or by Zoom, but you'll want to tune in, and then the company will be making a PowerPoint presentation. I did forward that PowerPoint to you as well. But I just think as we look at all of our public input opportunities, this survey could serve as one of those items for public input. We may still want to put something out to maybe gather a more broader perspective. I know this one that they did was a statistically valid survey, but I believe there were, under 350 respondents, and we have a population of 43,000. And so maybe we still want to do a Survey Monkey with some additional questions that anyone can just go and complete. And then also our farmers market, we've been getting like 3,000 to 4,000 visitors on a Saturday to the farmers market. And maybe we take a look at trying to go on an upcoming Saturday, put together a whole, booth with presentation boards, and maybe even something with the stickers that people can put on the things that they like the best. I mean, the old fashioned way, but it's just another way to reach out to the public. And then also, yesterday we had a meeting with the Universal Access Advisory Board, where we met with these two amazing moms. And I'm not going to get into the details of it, but they are also very well connected in the disability community, that I think are going to be great advisors to us in the future. And our meeting lasted, an hour or something, but the information derived from that was incredible. We just want to do the right thing, and we want everyone to feel welcome in our parks. And if we have to go above and beyond to do some extra things that aren't necessarily ADA building code type things, but we can do them, then we all want to do that. And so we did get some valuable information. So I don't know if there's really any more that we're going to talk about here tonight, other than maybe this would be the great opportunity for Commissioners Ferris and McDonald to talk about the meeting yesterday. But I think we're going in a very good direction to obtain public input. So I would be interested in knowing some other ideas. And I'm sure there's other venues we may want to consider. We could have public forums and put out information and invite people to come to town hall or the service center here to provide comment, as well as, like I said, those Survey Monkey surveys can provide, are far reaching, and they provide all the results like right there. And I think the information that I sent too is also broken down by answers per age division or age group, per zip code, per ethnic background. So anyway, we have a lot of different variations of how we can evaluate the information from the survey. And there was a lot of parks and recreation and events and trails. And it's all about us, it's all about the things that we're responsible for. So I think I'm going to stop there, and I can answer any more questions, but we may want to have a conversation about the meeting yesterday. We do not have like formal notes put together yet for you, since we just met yesterday, but we're putting those together now, and then we'll shoot those out to you so we can have maybe a greater conversation at our next meeting.
Thank you, Luann. It sounds like the survey gets us to a good starting place. And I know we've kind of been going back and forth about what does that survey look like moving forward. I do think it warrants getting together and having a working session, maybe not with, if the entire commission doesn't want to do it, maybe just the folks that are really interested in doing that survey work could. But I definitely think we should move forward with diving into some more detail potentially, and then thinking through some creative ways. I mean, if we're going to build a park system that's accessible for all and meets the needs for all, or at least do our darndest trying to make that happen, then we've got to think creatively about how to obtain that information. So I think the accessibility work group that Commissioner Ferris and Commissioner McDonald participated in, and thank you to the community and the family members that joined, I think that's one step. And maybe there's some other things that we can do between now and the end of the year, or when we need to have that plan updated. So with that, Commissioner Ferris, it looks like you were going to say something. I'm sorry, just 1 second. I've just realized, do you mind if we save the we had talked about earlier about having comment related to that meeting in the commissioner comment section.
That'd
And
be
if we
great.
could do that, I think that would be good, just because I want to have updates provided, but then I also would like us to have a deeper conversation during our next meeting when we have some notes to contribute. I think that would probably be the best thing, if that's okay. Okay. So let's move on to,
Chair
oh,
Lick?
sorry. Yes, sorry.
I just did a cursory view of the survey results, Luann, and I was just really pleased how many positive comments there were about the park system and how people love that. So that was really nice to see.
It was. It was, well, you know what? I've got a team of people who work very hard and
Yes, you
take a
do.
lot of pride in their work. So I'm very blessed with that.
Yes, you do. We're grateful for them too, very much so. So it's nice to see that the community reflected that in their comments as well. Let's move on to letter B, easement request by Consumers Energy.
Yes, as you know, if anybody has been driving on Okemos Road, don't.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
Find an alternate
Don't
route.
do it. Don't go south.
Don't. Anyway, the Ingham County Road Department is doing some work in preparation for the bridge replacement over the Red Cedar River on Okemos Road near Mount Hope, right between Ferguson Park and Watch Park. And so some of the work they're doing is like burying lines and utilities and those types of things. And it was just brought to our attention yesterday that Consumers Energy will be requesting an easement on the east side of Okemos Road, which is in the Watch Park side of Okemos Road, to extend the right of way so they can bury some gas lines.
Wouldn't that be the west side?
It is the west side. You're absolutely right. It's the west side. I remember when Derek said something, he said the east side. So I was just repeating that, but you're right. It is the west side of Okemos Road, east side of the park. But
Right.
so anyway, I do not have the formal easement language, but of course, you know, they kind of need to do this. The one issue that we want to make sure is that the park sign that is currently there or any future new park signs for its replacement, that's really where it needs to go. So that will be written into the draft of the easement, is that we still have the ability to place our park signs within that easement. But I'm bringing this to you for discussion. I don't have anything for us to adopt or anything at this point. And if you have additional questions, I can seek out answers and get back to you.
Yep, Commissioner Stevens.
So they're putting those lines in, are they going under the river or they're going next to the bridge or, I don't know, will that impact the crossing, the under the road crossing that they're going to plan on later on?
No, I'm guessing. I haven't seen the plans, but by putting the those gas lines under, I'm sure it's going to hug the bridge going across, but our pathway is going under that, so it should be fine. And if it's not, they need to work it out to make sure it does work, because we were promised that as part of this project. So I will check on that, Mark. That's a good question.
Commissioner Ferris.
I just had a question on the picture that came along in our packets. Digital packets seemed to be quite a wide request, quite a bit of land. And I don't know if it's the angle of the picture. I was just wondering how they determined how much land that they needed.
I do not know. It's 20-foot easement they're requesting.
Yeah. It just seems wide to me.
It does seem a little wide. My only thought
Yeah.
was maybe just so they can get their equipment in there, and any land they're damaging is land under their easement, but we can ask that question.
Okay, thank you.
And the easement is for the, I mean, for forever, correct? Because the lines will be buried there. So it's not like they're just asking for it during this construction period and then it goes away. Like it'll,
No.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yes, Commissioner Ferris.
That was the other question I had. I realize it's a priority project, so this needs to go forward. You know, other times, sometimes we do mitigation when they're taking lands that are no longer used for park purposes. I didn't know if we had any opportunities. I don't know if there's actually time allowed right now because it seems like it's compressed, but that would be something, in retrospect, I would have liked to have pursued maybe as some kind of trade or addition, or they purchase land somewhere else that helps us out.
Yeah,
Well, I can bring that up.
Okay.
I think that that's a very good point, Commissioner Ferris, and something that should be explored on the front end if possible. Yeah, and highly recommend that if you have any suggestions on what that might be, connecting with Luann. Yes, Commissioner McDonald.
You're muted.
I think the points that Commissioner Ferris is bringing up, this is a 4F, and they recognize that from the start, because they're using federal indirect, it doesn't matter, they agreed to it. They're using federal funds to impact the park. If I recall, it was agreed by all parties, and we know you're going to keep an eagle eye on this, that as part of the project they weren't intending to do, but now are, is to make a definitive walkway under the bridge for pedestrians, or whatever you want to call them, fishermen, who can walk a clear, is it 5 or 6 feet height? And they weren't going to do that. And to me, as that worked through, because that was added, even though they recognized it was a 4F, that development angle at some cost was added to it without a requirement on the county road commission that they replace any land that was lost. Does that address some of your concerns, Commissioner Ferris?
It could. Are you saying, Commissioner McDonald, that the county is now providing something for that property?
I think they're providing what they're providing for the overall disruption to Watch and Ferguson. And this is an add-on, right? This is
What we
additional
requested.
thing. I would certainly be open if the Director Maisner talked with Director Perry to at least put that topic out on the table. Well, it'd be, this is hypothetically Tim Stoutish here. We sure could use a dozen picnic tables or something like that. There is, I would agree without looking into it. I don't think there's any additional land nearby that can either be dedicated to us or bought. But I think you do bring up a point that's worth exploring. We've got something they want, and why not do some things for the parks? I see Mark nodding. I also think that having the bridge, and we have two great LAs here, Gene and Mary. I'm not in LA, but I think that this bridge is costing quite a bit more because of that additional foot or so that is being dedicated again to the pedestrians. In other words, this bridge went up a foot or so, and I think that's a bit of money. Mark, have you got any thoughts on the process? Because you've been through it the whole way too.
No, Mike, again, anytime there's a project that they have to do, it's always nice to get something out of them, when you can. So, it wouldn't be a problem to ask for certain things, if is that property, the soundball property that they've tried to sell a bunch of times, is that available to us or anything like that? Or, that's adjacent to where they're doing this work? I don't know.
Mark, is this not a good place? If I recall, this is not a good place to focus anglers on the rubble and et cetera.
Yeah.
But is there any benefit to asking about, I don't kayak. Would there be any benefit to asking a leading question about whatever you want to call it, the road commission, assisting by putting in one more kayak canoe landing in either of those parks? Would that be a good idea, Mark?
Yeah, we've had, that plan was out there, Mike, for a while of doing the scrape of that bank in
Oh, yeah.
in Wanch Park for a long time. I mean, is there anything we can do with that and adding, an easier access from Wanch Park for kayaks or access to the river? That's not such a cut bank instead of a tall bank, and maybe it's a gradual bank instead. I don't know.
Yeah, something to definitely consider, Luann. So it sounds like you've got some ideas and some options that provide the opportunity to ask some questions and get some clarification and insight.
I appreciate it. I just think as good fiscal stewards and good land stewards, it's something we should keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Thank you for following up on that, Luann. I appreciate it.
Okay. So Luann, you were just making us aware of it. There's no action, like you said. There's nothing.
There's no action. Like I said, this just came to our attention. I forwarded it to you immediately so we could just talk about it today. I will get with Director Perry. I think, maybe there's some wiggle room for us to get some additional things, because to me, this is from consumers, not necessarily from the Ingham County Road Department. So it'd be a separate entity.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that
like
sounds
Mark said,
great.
even if we get some tables out of it, I mean, Commissioner McDonald, some tables, but I do like the idea of maybe there's an opportunity to help us with a kayak landing or canoe landing or something there at Wanch would be perfect.
That'd be
And
great.
you know what, consumers, they want to be good neighbors and good members of our community as well. So
Yeah.
something like that where they can see community good. It's not anything from a greedy standpoint. It's what can we do to make things better for everyone? You get what you want, and then our community gets even something better.
Right.
And so I see this as a win-win, and I'll do my best to see what we can work out.
Thank you so much, Luann. Let us know if you need any additional support in that conversation. If there's
Sure.
anything we can do, but I'm sure you're going to do great. So moving on to number 8 is the director's report. I'm not sure if you would like to say anything. You did list off the accomplishments over the
I just have
year,
a couple things, if I may.
good. Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
Wednesday nights at Marketplace on the Green, we have been hosting live music from like was 6 to 9. We've now moved to 6 to 8 because it's getting dark earlier. But anyway, we've got a great band coming up tomorrow night. They're called the Garage Sale Band. And they are really a group of Okemos dads who play rock and roll and oldies. And so I think it would be a fun night. We have a food truck or two out there. And at these, people can bring their own beverages, just no glass containers, and a lawn chair. And it really is quite fun. And it piggybacks on our Wednesday farmers market. So we still have vendors there selling their things, and some arts and crafts folks there, and live music. And it's really a ton of fun, and it's free, and it's easy parking, free parking. I mean, you couldn't have a better scenario. And we have been doing this all of July and August. And then now we ended up getting more sponsors to continue throughout this month. And I think we're even going to maybe try to do something into October a little bit. But, and then we have, I should know my lineup here for the rest of the summer. Anyway, go to the township website, and we have it all listed out there. But if anybody's out there, come on out and visit us for a little while. It's so much fun. People get up and dance, and it's just so nice to finally be able to activate Marketplace on the Green, and I think it's really becoming this great community place, and it's so flexible. I mean, we can do a lot of different things there. I think our pickleball people were talking about taping some lines down in this winter, being able to play under the pavilion on a couple of the wings. And then we have scheduled for delivery is our artificial ice rink. And that will be coming at the end of October for installation in November. And that will be in the total east wing. So that'll be fun, and we'll get lights on it. And we're working with Dick's Sporting Goods to make sure that they have plenty of skates available, and maybe some coupons for discounts for that, and then make sure that they can get into ice or skate sharpening. I don't know if they do that now, so we're going to check with them on that. And then also we talked about maybe if anyone out there has any old ice skates you want to get rid of. And so then we have a nice little supply there. So anybody who, even if you don't have skates, you could come and put some on and at least, skate. So, but just so everyone understands, this is not for hockey. We didn't get hockey boards and goals and all of that, but it's really just for community skating and fun, and we can play music and we've got heaters, and yeah, it's going to be great fun. And then also the Friends of Historic Meridian is hosting their Blue and Gray event on October 2nd in the historical village. Actually, it's the 2nd and 3rd, and there's a Civil War reenactment, and they have all sorts of things going on. They will be doing some camping. There's an outdoor gathering permit that they're putting together right now. But anyway, it should be a lot of fun, and it's really nice to kind of get back into doing some things. It's normally something that doesn't draw a lot of people, but it is really fun, and you kind of get to step back in the past and see what life was like in the late 1800s. And they do a really nice job there. And then also there is the recycling event coming up this coming Saturday, which is September 18th. I believe it's from 9 to 2 at Chippewa Middle School. And you can, they're doing electronics. If you want all the details, go to the township website. It lists everything there. But if you have old computers and monitors and TVs and microwaves or whatever, they're ready to take it. And they get a lot of volunteers. And if anyone's interested in volunteering, just look on the website. There's a place to volunteer right there, or just call me and I'll get you set up for whoever, the person you need to talk to. And then also coming up this Saturday is a memorial dedication in the historical village to John Gretenberger, and that's at 10:30. John Gretenberger was one of the original members. That is why the historical village was created. He provided the impetus to actually create the village back in 1984. And he passed away during COVID. And so it really wasn't a fitting opportunity for the township to thank he and his family for all that they've done. And they were charter members of the Friends of Historic Meridian, which is our volunteer group that runs and manages and maintains the historical village, runs school groups through there, through educational programs. They offer events like the Blue and Gray event, the former Heritage Festival, Christmas in the Village. They are a wonderful group. John Gretenberger also was involved in the construction of the new chapel in the village, and I think funded a majority of that project. And so we have installed a bronze plaque and planted an oak tree in his honor, sitting between the chapel and the Gretenberger farmhouse, which I believe was the house that he grew up in. That's there. So anyway, it should be just a night, not a long event, but it's at 10:30 on Saturday. If anybody wants to come out, I think the Friends of Historic Meridian will host refreshments following the ceremony. So I think we've got, soccer going on and flag football happening and lots of good stuff.
Thank you so much, Luann. Lots of great stuff. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I will be there tomorrow for the music to do the announcing. And then, so I'm looking forward to that. And then I will also be there on Saturday for the memorial. So I encourage folks to join. We'd love to see you there.
Be great.
Moving on to public comment. Do we have anybody on the phone?
Once again, we can take telephone calls at 517-349-1232. Alternatively, if there were anybody in the attendee area, they would be able to raise their hand, but there's no one in there right now. I am not hearing any telephones ringing at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to other matters and commissioner comments. Commissioner Ferris and Commissioner McDonald would love to hear about the meeting you had last night. So, and then Commissioner Stevens, after they're done, would love to hear about anything you have to share.
Sure. I'll start, and then Mike, if you could chime in and provide more information on the Universal Access Advisory Board meeting we had. As Luann said, we had a great meeting yesterday. There were Jane did a great job running that, and there were 2 individuals involved, 2 moms that had a lot of good ideas brought forward. And I think what Jane had said is that there was possibly more people that were interested in attending, but maybe the time didn't work for them. I would encourage us as we move forward to have additional people participate, particularly someone from the township would be nice to have someone that was actually from the township. And I think the broader particularly with issues that people are so passionate about, the more different types of abilities we have represented is very helpful. If not, I think there's a tendency for any of us to bring forward what we're familiar with. And that was some of the conversation that I picked up during the meeting. So I would really like to have maybe a couple more people that join that as we move forward. But they were very engaged. I was just amazed at some of the ideas that were brought forward and moving forward. I did have a question. I didn't know if we were going to do this consistently or regularly, or maybe ad hoc as a need arises or for review of plans. I wasn't entirely clear about that.
We can actually do whatever the board would like us to do. Typically, when we've been updating, I just would like to say too that I did mention that you know, the Park Commission was updating the 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And this was really an opportunity to provide their input so we can start the planning process to implement in the future. I said, so nothing's happening like tomorrow, but it's getting in at the ground level. And once we have a good plan established, then it's easy to move forward. And they were so appreciative and so impressed with the Park Commission for like asking them ahead of time instead of coming to them afterwards. And then they've had some bad experience recently with some other projects in other communities. And they just really complimented the Park Commission on inviting them on in now to start the conversation. And they, like I said, they were very well connected in the community. So there were other people they were going to reach out to as well. And I think you're at one of the comments was maybe the evening time would be about it, would facilitate some other people joining as well. So we can certainly do this again before we do the finalize our plan, and maybe we do this annually.
I was gonna
That's why I was
say
wondering,
that.
maybe even 2 to 4 times a year, depending. I don't know that there's a need to do it again before we finalize the plan, because I thought they brought forward a lot of great ideas, and I'd be real interested to hear what some of our residents you know, say, or what they say in their comments. So, but yeah, it was great. And they did, to reinforce what Luann had said, they were just very appreciative they brought in a front end and not after the fact. I know, being involved in projects myself, that's typically you get going on something, you're really excited, and then you take it to somebody, and then of course you don't want to change anything because you've already developed it and it's all well thought out. But so they were very appreciative of that, and Jane did a great job in facilitating that meeting. Michael?
I guess what I would
Commissioner McDonald?
add was a couple of, just think of them as revelations to me. And a couple of them were from Catherine, and I can only really think of one kind of revelatory thing from Lee, but Lee was just as engaging and captivating as Catherine. One is that I know about autism. I know folks, not in my inner circle, but folks that have children and young adults on that spectrum. But Catherine clued me in on something I was not aware of, that yes, I know that I believed I knew that autistic folks are very averse to noise, and there is a similar part of the autistic community or spectrum that craves noise. That was a shocker to me. And then something I had no idea about, that autistic people are drawn to water. And that is as in getting in the water to go swimming or whatevering. That was just brand new to me, but yet it was very important to one of the two, who both of them have headed state or region-wide groups and commissions on various aspects of accessibility. Lee, I believe, brought up from personal experience they need to have some adult size changing tables because of the fact that some adults are incontinent and have family and so forth with them, and she talked about wipes and diapers and the like. And I'm not aware of any place that has an adult changing table, and yet I'm sure they exist. Again, back to that enthusiasm aspect, and I agree. I wouldn't believe and Jane is a very able staff person, and I don't think she's planning on calling a meeting before the end of the calendar year, but when and if we put up a booth at the farmer's market, Luann, could we make sure that we reach out to those, at least those two ladies, and give them a personal invite to come
Sure.
that day?
Sure, and like I said, we'll put together a full written report for everyone, and it'll be easier to have this conversation. But anyway, it turned out much better than I anticipated. We had some great input and comments, and I think there's a lot of things that we can do. So, and then we had them take a look at the Towner Road multi-generational fitness playground area to grab some input, and then also the engineering department has a grant in for the phase 3 of the MSU to Lake Lansing Trail. And so, talking about some of the things we would probably know, restroom availability is important, benches are important. They even suggested, maybe on the edges to, like when you're driving down the road and if you like swerve from the lane a little bit and it's kind of rumbled on the sides, well, maybe we do something with a strip of rumble. And so then people who are visually impaired can tell where the edge of the pathway is. Just some things like that we probably hadn't thought of and that are easy to do. So anyway, there's more to come. It was just yesterday, so we wanted to make sure at least we brought it up today. But every day is a learning experience for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to Commissioner Ferris and to Commissioner McDonald for representing the Park Commission at that meeting. And thank you, Luann and Jane, for facilitating that. And to the community members that attended, I think it's just imperative that we lift those voices in these conversations as we're working through improvements of our park system, our trail system, our plans into the future. And we'll have to do it on multiple occasions. We don't want to assume that, just a couple of voices is reflective of everyone. So I think, putting up the booth and seeking opportunities for future meetings would be good. But I like your approach, Luann, of going back to them and asking them, what they would prefer in terms of how many times they meet a year. Annually seems nice. And then ad hoc as we have other big projects that come up where we need to do that. So yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much. Any other comments? Commissioner Stevens? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for a wonderful meeting and a meeting that kept me on my toes the entire time. Lots of laughs and we'll look to adjourn now. And our next meeting will be held Tuesday, October 12th at the Meridian Township Service Center on the Gaylord C. Smith Court in Hazlet at 4:30 p.m. So thanks for tuning in and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Night, everyone.
Great.
Good night.
Thank you, Stephen, for your assistance.
Thank you, Stephen.
Anytime.